Yeah, I mean, I think like following the game, it's so disappointing to lose. And most seasons end on a loss, so it's really hard and challenging, but
What unfolds on the court is only a fraction of the reality, a clean, polished stage masking the chaos boiling underneath professional basketball. Beneath the elite skill and highlight moments of the WNBA, a quiet tension is rising, an unspoken code being aggressively reshaped in real time with every hard-fought game, as the traditional standards of conduct are ripped apart and replaced by a far more ruthless, unapologetic edge. In this environment, it only takes one controversial flashpoint to place a lasting target on a superstar, turning every future appearance into a ticking time bomb ready to explode, raising the question of who is bold enough to ignite it. The entire situation erupted from a single play that sent shockwaves across the league, a brutal collision that didn't just split fans and analysts but also drew clear lines between players, setting up a deeply personal clash that felt shocking in the moment yet inevitable in hindsight. At the center stood Breanna Stewart, a two-time MVP and one of the most dominant physical forces the game has ever seen, who during an intense battle against the Phoenix Mercury delivered what many labeled a crushing, season-shifting screen on Sophie Cunningham, a moment that instantly divided opinion. To supporters of old-school physical basketball, it was nothing more than a legal, hard-nosed play that embodied the toughness required to win at the highest level, a true reflection of championship mentality. But to a loud and growing opposition, it crossed into something far more troubling, pushing beyond a line that many believe should never be touched. What many witnessed in that moment was not a routine basketball play, but what they believed to be an illegal moving screen, a blindside collision that felt far less like strategy and far more like calculated aggression aimed at eliminating a crucial opponent. The impact was immediate and undeniable, leaving Sophie Cunningham on the floor in visible pain and forcing her out of the game entirely. From there, the controversy erupted without hesitation, spreading across social media, dominating sports debates, and fueling tense conversations behind closed locker room doors nationwide. Suddenly, the league was confronted with a far bigger question than one isolated play. Was this becoming the new reality of the WNBA, and had the fragile boundary between tough competition and outright dirty play finally been erased? The incident did far more than sideline a key contributor for the Mercury. It sent a loud and unmistakable warning throughout the entire league. Every franchise received the same message. If you stepped onto the court against Breanna Stewart and the loaded New York Liberty, you had to be ready for a full-scale battle, because they were operating with a level of physical intensity that many teams were still struggling to match. That one controversial and endlessly dissected screen became far more than a single moment in a game. It became the spark that triggered everything that followed, setting a standard that players across the league were studying with sharp attention. Yet this incident was never isolated. It reflected a much deeper transformation unfolding inside the WNBA. The league was experiencing a powerful cultural shift, driven by a new generation of extraordinary talent and a surge of media attention unlike anything it had seen before. With that rise came greater intensity, heavier expectations, and a level of pressure that made every possession feel monumental. Regular season battles carried the urgency of playoff games, and a harsher, more unapologetic style of physical play began to define the sport. Players were no longer competing solely for victories, they were fighting for respect, territory, and reputation. Inside locker rooms, loyalty hardened into something almost tribal, especially among younger rosters embracing an us-against-the-world mindset. In this new environment, standing by while a franchise star, particularly the young faces attracting millions of fresh fans, was pushed around became unacceptable. A new form of on-court justice started to emerge, where any shot taken at a team's leader demanded a response, a message sent back with equal force. This era of player policing meant that every hard foul, every aggressive screen, and every post-whistle confrontation was carefully observed, mentally recorded, and never forgotten. Across the league, a silent ledger of grievances was growing, with players waiting patiently for the right moment to settle old scores. The controversy surrounding the Stewart and Cunningham collision only poured gasoline onto a fire that was already burning fiercely. That moment confirmed what many players had already sensed deep down. The game was changing at its core, and anyone unwilling to embrace the rising physicality risked being left behind or, even worse, getting hurt. The atmosphere had become tense enough to create space for a new kind of enforcer, a player whose value could not be measured only by points or assists, but by their readiness to stand firm, protect their teammates, and handle the hardest responsibilities without hesitation. That is where Lexie Hull entered the picture as the overlooked protector of the Indiana Fever. On a roster suddenly pushed into the national spotlight, Surrounded by emerging stars like Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston, Hull was never the one dominating headlines or highlight reels. She was the grit behind the glamour, the connective force holding everything together. Her game was built on relentless defense, tireless hustle, and a willingness to take on the thankless roles that often decide championships. Her identity came from effort, and her reputation was shaped by a quiet but undeniable toughness. Throughout her career, Hull had established herself as someone who refused to back down, regardless of the opponent or the magnitude of the stage. She understood the unwritten rules of competition, the psychology of intimidation and respect, better than most. While attention stayed fixed on the stars, Hull was studying in the film room, breaking down tendencies, preparing mentally for the kind of physical battles that statistics could never fully capture. Like everyone else, she had watched what happened to Sophie Cunningham, listened to every argument, and reviewed the footage from every possible angle. As one of the key defenders for a young and electrifying Indiana squad that had quickly become a target for opponents playing with unusual aggression, Lexie Hull understood that it was only a matter of time before her own team faced the same harsh reality. She saw herself as the protector, the first line of defense for the franchise's future, and she had no intention of allowing her teammates to become the next warning sign in the league's increasingly physical landscape. That determination made the upcoming matchup between the Indiana Fever and the New York Liberty feel far bigger than an ordinary regular season contest. The atmosphere inside the arena carried a rare intensity, because this was never just another game on a crowded schedule, it was a true test of resolve and a defining benchmark for the young Fever roster. All eyes were fixed on how this rising, relentless team would respond to the championship-level powerhouse from New York. Yet beneath that broader storyline was an even more personal and pressing question that lingered over the night. How would Indiana, and more specifically its defenders, handle the overwhelming physical dominance of Breanna Stewart? Would they allow her to dictate the tone of the game with her aggressive screens and forceful drives, or would they stand firm and challenge that authority head-on? The question hanging over that night was simple. Would someone finally rise to challenge the league's most dominant force and establish a line that could not be crossed? For Lexie Hull, that responsibility was unmistakable. She had been assigned as one of the primary defenders against Breanna Stewart, a task demanding every bit of her strength, focus, and resilience. The memory of what happened to Sophie Cunningham remained impossible to ignore, serving as a constant reminder of the danger that came with facing a player of Stewart's power and intensity. From the opening tip, the game carried an unmistakable edge. Every possession felt like a fight, every inch of space had to be earned. Then came the moment that seemed destined to happen. In a critical sequence, Breanna Stewart attacked with her trademark force, isolating her defender and driving with purpose. Waiting for her was Lexie Hull, firmly planted and fully prepared. What followed was a violent collision, bodies crashing together as both players battled for leverage and control. It was the kind of aggressive, physical exchange that defines high-level competition, but this one carried a different weight. When the referee's whistle sounded, Hull refused to simply reset. Instead, she held her ground, stepped forward, and entered Stewart's space with complete confidence. Then came the stare, cold, unwavering, and impossible to ignore. It was a look that said more than words ever could. What followed was a heated exchange, a tense confrontation that microphones could not fully capture, but one that cameras displayed with unmistakable intensity. This was never just a spontaneous reaction to a single foul in the heat of competition. It was a deliberate and unmistakable response to everything that had come before, especially the incident involving Sophie Cunningham. In that moment, Lexie Hull became the voice of her team and, in many ways, a symbol for players across the league, delivering a message without needing to say a word. This would not happen again, not to Indiana, and not without resistance. Her anger was controlled and purposeful, not reckless, and that made it even more powerful. It was the fierce, protective resolve of someone determined to make it clear that the Indiana Fever would not be bullied, intimidated, or broken. That single stare-down accomplished far more than interrupting a play. It altered the emotional and psychological balance of the entire game. For the young Fever roster, it became a statement of identity. They may have lacked experience, but they refused to be seen as weak. The confrontation sent a visible shock through both benches and into the crowd. Stewart, now fully aware that she was facing a defender unwilling to retreat and prepared to match every ounce of physicality, had to adjust her approach moving forward. Meanwhile, the Fever players drew confidence from watching Hull stand up for them so publicly, and their energy shifted with renewed swagger, belief, and collective toughness. This is how true rivalries are built in the modern WNBA, not through headlines or manufactured storylines, but through raw and defining moments of on-court conflict. They are forged in hard fouls, heated exchanges, and the silent challenges that pass between competitors. Hull's confrontation with Stewart was never just about one game. It was about building a new identity for both herself and her team, one rooted in resilience and earned respect, the kind that is never handed over but claimed through action. In that moment, the Fever showed the rest of the league that they were more than a collection of talented players. They were a united force, a family bound by loyalty. Anyone targeting one of them would have to answer to all of them. These are the defining moments that shape the future of the league, creating the kind of unforgettable drama that keeps fans invested long after the final buzzer. The clash between Hull and Stewart became a vivid example of the WNBA's rapid transformation, a league increasingly defined by personal rivalries that feel authentic, intense, and impossible to ignore. That energy is visible everywhere, from the long-building tension between Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark that first ignited on the college championship stage, to the now infamous foul by Chindy Carter that sparked national debate. The league is overflowing with fierce competitive drama, driven by a generation of players who embrace who they are, carry undeniable chips on their shoulders, and remain fiercely loyal to their teammates. They understand that with more attention on the WNBA than ever before, every game is a national stage and every performance is a chance to send a statement. The rising physicality is not empty theatrics. It has become a strategic and psychological weapon within the modern game. It is about seizing control of the mental battle, disrupting an opponent's rhythm, and setting a tone of authority from the very first possession. This is the reality of the modern WNBA, a league where extraordinary skill and generational talent are matched by relentless heart and uncompromising toughness. The era of quiet, uncontested basketball has faded, replaced by a high-stakes struggle for dominance that is as thrilling as it is demanding. The larger question, however, is what this evolution means for the future of the sport. This more intense, physical, and confrontational style of play has undeniably captured public attention in ways the league has never experienced before. Attendance has surged, television audiences have reached historic levels, and the WNBA is finally receiving the widespread cultural recognition it has long pursued. The rivalries, emotional intensity, and dramatic storylines have all become central to that appeal. Yet with that momentum comes an important and difficult question: how far is too far? The league must find a way to preserve this aggressive, compelling identity while also protecting its athletes from unnecessary harm and maintaining the spirit of sportsmanship that defines competition at its best. There is a razor-thin boundary between playing hard and playing recklessly, between psychological warfare and dangerous excess. As the WNBA continues its rapid rise, managing that balance may become its greatest test. The confrontation between Lexie Hull and Breanna Stewart was never just a passing outburst. It was a revealing glimpse into the soul of a league in transition, a sign of what lies ahead, and a reminder that the next defining moment may be closer than anyone expects. What you see on the court is only part of the reality, a polished surface masking the turbulence underneath professional basketball. Beneath the elite talent and highlight plays in the WNBA, a growing tension is taking shape, an unspoken code being rewritten in real time, game after game, as the old standards of conduct are replaced by a sharper, more aggressive identity. In this environment, a single controversial moment can place a lasting target on a superstar, turning every future appearance into a pressure-filled collision waiting for the slightest spark. The question becomes unavoidable. In a league this competitive, who is willing to be the one to ignite that fire? It all began with a play that sent shockwaves across the league, a physical collision that immediately divided fans and analysts while also creating new lines of tension between players, setting the stage for a confrontation that felt shocking in the moment but inevitable in hindsight. At the center of it stood Breanna Stewart, a two-time MVP and one of the most dominant forces the game has ever seen, who during a heated matchup against the Phoenix Mercury delivered what many described as a game-altering screen on Sophie Cunningham. To some, it was simply hard-nosed, legal basketball, a display of championship-level physicality rooted in old-school toughness and competitive edge. To others, it crossed a line entirely, viewed as a moving, blindside-style collision that felt less like a basketball play and more like an intentional act of aggression that left Cunningham on the floor injured and forced her out of the game. The reaction was immediate and explosive, spreading across social media, sports shows, and locker rooms nationwide, igniting a debate over whether this moment marked a new and more physical standard for the WNBA. Was this the moment where the blurry line between hard-nosed competition and outright dirty play finally started to harden into something more permanent? The incident didn't just remove a key contributor from the floor for the Mercury, It became a league-wide wake-up call, a warning shot that echoed through every locker room in the WNBA. The message felt unmistakable. When you step onto the court against Breanna Stewart and the star-driven New York Liberty, you are not just facing a basketball team. You are stepping into a physical, high-pressure environment where every possession can feel like a collision course. For many teams, it forced a mental reset, a recognition that the margin for hesitation had disappeared. That single endlessly replayed screen quickly grew beyond a controversial highlight. It became a reference point, something players, coaches, and analysts dissected frame by frame, trying to understand not just what happened, but what it meant for the direction of the league. In film sessions and locker room conversations, it was no longer just about one possession, it was about how the game itself was evolving. And in that evolution, physicality was no longer an occasional tactic. It was becoming a defining language. But none of this existed in isolation. It was part of a broader, more dramatic transformation inside the WNBA, a league surging through a new era shaped by rising stars, unprecedented media coverage, and a level of visibility that amplified every single moment on the floor. With that attention came pressure, constant, unrelenting pressure, where even regular season matchups carried the emotional weight of postseason battles. Every drive, screen, and rebound felt magnified under the spotlight, and the intensity naturally bled into how the game was played. As the stakes rose, so did the edge. A more physical, unapologetic style of basketball began to take hold, not as an exception but as an expectation. Players weren't just competing for wins anymore, they were fighting for identity, respect, and space in a rapidly evolving hierarchy. Inside teams, loyalty became something deeper and more instinctive, almost tribal in nature, especially among younger rosters built around emerging stars who were drawing new audiences to the league. Protecting those stars was no longer a courtesy, it was a responsibility, one that carried real emotional weight. In this environment, any hard foul or aggressive action toward a team's leader demanded an immediate response. Silence was no longer an option. A message had to be sent back, clearly, forcefully, and without hesitation. That expectation created a new layer of tension where every collision, screen, and post-whistle exchange was not only part of the game, but also part of a growing memory bank of league-wide grievances. Nothing was forgotten, even if nothing was said in the moment. The controversy surrounding the Stewart Cunningham incident didn't just add to that tension, it accelerated it. It poured fuel onto an already volatile fire, pushing the league deeper into an era where emotion, physicality, and rivalry were no longer separate elements of the game, but tightly intertwined forces shaping every possession.